A story of the dress that can sing. So the story of the dress that can sing is an excerpt from the West African tales. So what is West African tales? So West African tales or West African methodology is the body of myths from the people from West Africa. It contains various myths, stories, folk tales, legendary heroes from the various or different ethnic groups. So the story of the dress that can sing is an example of a trickster tales. So what is a trickster tales? A trickster tales is a story that features the protagonist, that features the protagonist often seen or can often featured as an anthropomorphized animal or that serves as a compendium of the opposite of or the antagonist. So let's know more of the story.
Now, I will share with you the synopsis of the story of the dress that sang. So the story is about a man named Chameleon who got his farm stolen by another man who was jealous of him. This man, Anansi, was so clever in how he took Chameleon's farm, but Chameleon was smarter in how he got it back. Anansi was very deceiving and did not care that he was stealing from a man who was already poor. Even though Anansi was stealing from Chameleon, he never stepped out of character. But he did get his revenge without using violence, but instead he outsmarted Anansi.
Hello everyone, I am Cecil Esram. Now let us talk about the setting of the story, which is the dress that sang. The story happened in a small town in ancient Egypt. And also let us talk about the characters of the story. And there are two main characters of the story, which is Chameleon and Anansi. Chameleon is a poor man alone in tilling his farm, and Anansi, who is a rich man with many children who help him with his farming. And there was one character that makes the story more interesting, which is who is the head of the town, which is the chef.
So for this topic, I am going to discuss the plot of the story, which is the exposition. So the exposition of the story is that the story about a man named Chameleon who got his farm stolen from another man who jealous of him. This man, Anansi, was so clever in how he looked his farm, but Chameleon was smarter in how he got it back. Anansi was very deceiving and did not care that he was stealing from a man that was already poor.
So this is the climax of the story. The chameleon went home, dug a hole, and made a beautiful cloak and used it to lure Anansi on giving back his land. Anansi's eyes were caught on the cloak. He wanted to buy it, but in order for him to have it, he must fill up the hole dug by the chameleon with food. Seen as a shallow hole, he agreed. As a sign of gratitude of giving him the land, Anansi took the cloak unto the chief. Filling up the hole, he then realized that he was tricked. The hole was actually deep. Weeks passed by, but the hole still have a lot of space for storage. The cloak given to the chief started to worn out until it actually fell apart. The chief was left with no clothes. The chief was furious. As a punishment, the chief took back the chameleon's land as well as Anansi's best land and gave it both to the chameleon. As soon as the chameleon received both fields, it then soon started raining, making both fields abundant and the chameleon as the richest in the land.
Everyone, today I will be discussing the resolution of the story of the dress that sang. Do not take advantage of the weakness. Don't be greedy. Instead, share your blessings. Learn to help other people. you should be considerate and humble as well. As a reminder, our world is wrong. Not all the time, you always shining. It could change. So as a human being, be contented of what you have and please be helpful.
So hello, and for the theme of the story theme is about the two animals that one shrieked against his neighbor and switched the situation in front of the compound's chief and claimed what's not his property. The chameleon was know nothing about what his neighbor Anansi does to him and what he's claiming of, but at the end of the story, it shows that no matter how you trick others at the end of the time or at the end of the day, mercy above gives justice to the poorest and shamed who does against by his eyes. In other words, blessed who did not take revenge against who betray others. That's all.
I am going to report about the moral lesson of the story, The Dress That Sang. So the moral lesson of the story is, in the story shows that deceiving is not a good thing. Don't deceive others because karma will come next. The story is reminding us the quote, do not do unto others if you don't want others to do unto you. In other words, treat people the way you wanted people to treat you. And lastly, this story gives us a lesson that revenge doesn't need any violence to outsmart your enemies, but let karma come. So that is all about the moral lesson of the story, The Dress That